They say I'm a rebel, but why would I adhere to someone else's vision when I've got my own? I've had the cover of Vogue, but no money to buy it.
The misunderstanding is simple. People think she was chasing attention, when really she was making punk art history.
Remove the barriers of the norm and to break the rules that can stifle.
If British fashion has a polite front door, Pam Hogg came in through the fire exit, loud, slick, and unapologetically provocative. Well, just picture this scene. Late night British TV, 1990. A petite Scottish blonde in skin-tight PVC pants perches herself on host Terry Wogan's lap, live on air, all because he joked her outfit looked uncomfortable. For primetime audiences, it was a minor scandal. For Pam Hogg, it was just another Tuesday. This punk rock fashion rebel has always been more provocative than polite. With her neon hair, her 100% party girl reputation, and her habit of turning up or taking over the wildest clubs in London, she was often dismissed as a flamboyant misfit. But here's the twist. That same wild child went on to reshape British fashion from the underground up, dressing everyone from Siouxsie to Blondie to Rihanna to Bjork to Taylor Swift. Pam Hogg was a walking controversy and a cultural catalyst. If you only have 30 seconds... Here's the bottom line of this beauty blueprint. Pam Hogg is one who made herself impossible to ignore. One who blurred the line between life, fashion, music, and art. One who was her own best model and never asked permission to break rules. Her secret was living her style 24/7, be it crashing club doors in DIY latex catsuits, sewing every last stud and stitch with her own bare hands, or flat out refusing to be normal. In her words, "Fuck normality." She fused fashion with rock and roll so completely that the industry had no choice but to pay attention. Her look wasn't sexy in the safe editorial sense. It was confrontational, fetish adjacent, and designed to make people stare too long. Pam Hogg built a career on the one thing fashion always pretends it isn't about: sex. Not suggestion, statement. Clothes that cling like a second skin, cut like a threat, and refuse to flatter anyone's comfort. The scandal wasn't that she pushed boundaries, it was that she never stepped back to check. That fearless originality, that's the Pam Hogg blueprint. But if you'd like a bit more of an explanation, follow me.
Welcome. I'm Kira, and this is your beauty blueprint.
I've spent the past week researching, watching, and reading everything I could about Pam Hogg to bring you her very essence and share the best of my findings. Trigger was, of course, the tragedy of our loss of Pam. Rest in peace, rockstar. Fashion did remember all about her the moment it was too late, as always. Imagine a woman who can rock acid yellow hair sculpted into a rockabilly quiff, a swipe of siren red lipstick, and jet black eyeliner flicks sharp enough to kill, all while strutting in vinyl catsuits that look part superhero costume, part dominatrix gear. That's Pam Hogg on the surface. For decades, she reigned as the Caledonian Queen of Cling, a moniker earned by her scandalously skin-tight creations, and her style was a kaleidoscopic tour de force of pop, punk, and PVC. She'd saunter into a party in head-to-toe latex and a pair of aviator sunglasses at midnight, her lemon-yellow mane glowing under the lights. Once a punk, always a punk, Pam liked to say, and as she laughingly pulls a stray safety pin out of her peroxide blonde hair, you know she means it. Do stick around, because by the end of this video we'll even serve up a quick breakdown of what we can learn, very, very practically speaking, from Pam's beauty blueprint. So settle in, grab a drink or snack, maybe a neon yellow cocktail to match Pam's signature, and let's start the analysis by understanding who she actually was, and how she came to be the face of punk rock fashion. Here's a little backstory. Pamela Hogg was born in 1959 in the Scottish town of Paisley, near Glasgow. Fittingly, a town itself known for its vivid textile patterns. Family lore has it that her mother nearly gave birth to little Pam on a bus ride, and Pam grew up just outside Glasgow in a rather humble setting.
There were few books in our house, and no art, but the radio was on all day long.
There wasn't much money, but there was imagination.
When I grew up, we had no money, but my father enriched our lives with tales and inventions.
Pam's father, a resourceful craftsman, used to build toys out of scavenged materials in his shed and present them to her, saying, "Nobody else has got one of these." Watching him turn old rubber tires into a doll's cradle, she learned that anything could be transformed with enough vision.
My father made up stories. He inspired me to use every inch of my imagination.
It clearly rubbed off.
He had the power to turn a doll's cradle made from old rubber tires and scavenged wood into treasure before my eyes.
By age 6, Pam was already cutting up hand-me-down clothes and sewing them into her creations, a tiny seamstress with outsized dreams. I saw the fabric and immediately envisaged how I wanted it to look on me, she later said of her earliest outfits. That inventive streak earned her top honours in art school. She studied fine art and printed textiles at the Glasgow School of Art on a raft of scholarships, then won a coveted spot at the Royal College of Art in London. And London in the late 70s and early 80s was a cultural playground. And Pam arrived right on time. She found the Royal College stayed, but outside the halls, the city was throbbing with new wave music and new flamboyant club kids. Soon, Pam discovered the BLITZ Club, legendary Soho hotspot where the new romantic scene held court in feathers and face paint. And everything changed. Gaining entry to BLITZ was a high art in itself. The door was notoriously hard, policed by scene icon Steve Strange, who'd turn away anyone he deemed too boring. Pam was terrified the first time she lined up. She was shy back then by her own admission, but she wasn't stupid. She had prepared. Hearing about BLITZ's strict dress code, she had bleached her dark hair to a dramatic peroxide blonde and spent days at her sewing machine concocting an outfit that couldn't be ignored. Still, waiting in the queue and hearing Steve Strange snark at almost everyone, her nerves nearly got the better of her. She turned to slip away quietly, when suddenly Strange himself stopped her. "Where do you think you're going?" he demanded, taking in her handmade punk finery. "You belong. Get in," he shouted. And just like that, Pam Hogg was ushered into her wild new world. That night inside BLITZ was an initiation. Pam was surrounded by London's most outrageous dressers. Designers like Body Map's Stevie Stewart and performance artists like Lee Bowery all mingling on the dance floor. She realized this was where she was meant to be. "It was my destiny," she said of finding London's underground scene. And almost immediately, her own designs started causing a buzz. Clubgoers gawked and gushed over her DIY ensembles. Magazine photographers stopped her on the street. Established designers took notice and encouraged her. By 1981, while still in her early 20s, Pam launched her first official collection, Psychedelic Jungle. She sold her early pieces at a stall in Kensington Market's Hyper, ground zero for up-and-coming designers, and cultivated a cult following then and there. Shoppers might not have known her name, but the sight of a Pam Hogg piece was enough to stop people in their tracks. By mid-80s, Pam had become the cool new talent in London. She opened her own little boutique in Soho, where pilgrims from around the world would come to buy something they'd seen in magazines. And magazines couldn't get enough of her. ID, the style bible of the era, put Pam on its cover. By that point, she'd earned a reputation as an enfant terrible of fashion, often mentioned in the same breath as Vivienne Westwood, the original punk designer whom Pam admired most. Should we cover Vivienne next? In fact, ID went so far as to call Pam the most consistently inventive British fashion designer. Even mainstream TV came calling. In 1990, Terry Wogan introduced her on his chat show as one of the most original, inventive, creative designers in Britain with cult status. Pam took that cult status quite literally. She lived her brand, day and night. With her trademark blonde quiff, black PVC leggings, and biker jackets, she was a walking advertisement for her clothes. Other downtown it girls, from rocker Siouxsie to Paula Yates, wore Pam Hogg designs to amp up their own wild personas. She designed scandalously skimpy stage outfits for Blondie's Debbie Harry, and the pop singer Kylie Minogue paraded a black, metal-studded Pam Hogg catsuit in her music video 2 Hearts. Everywhere you looked in late 80s London, it seemed someone hot was flaunting a bit of Hogg. At the same time, Pam was living as hard as she worked. She became a regular on the London club circuit, a pint-sized blonde bundle of energy dancing until dawn at every secret gig. One friend marveled. I've never known her decline an invitation. Even if she already had arrangements, She'd work out a way to get herself to everything. How she bonded with everyone was extraordinary. Pam herself remembers being painfully shy on her first BLITZ nights, but as she quips, there was always booze and speed, and we'd dance like crazy, then get on the bus home. So she earned the nickname 100% Party Girl. The late nights, the neon costumes, the attitude, it was all one and the same. Her life was her art project. And speaking of fearless, in a minute, we'll get to how Pam Hogg's raw streak led a certain supermodel to strip off her couture gown in favor of Pam's design, so don't go anywhere. But before we continue, if you're enjoying this deep dive into Pam's punk glam world, do hit the like button and please consider subscribing. It really helps this little new channel. Let me know in the comments, would you ever rock a latex catsuit or acid yellow hair? Or is there another style rebel you'd love to see a beauty blueprint on? I'm dying to hear your take. And hey, if you're really into these kinds of stories, maybe consider becoming a channel member. Members get access to members-only podcast episodes. Plus, you'll really be supporting the channel's work. That or Patreon, which is even better since it takes a smaller cut. A big thank you goes to all the members. You rock, friends. By the way, I got so inspired researching Pam that I even designed a special Pam Hogg t-shirt for this video's launch. I just couldn't resist. It's my little homage to her. Check it out if you want to snag one and wear a bit of that punk spirit yourself. Sadly, we can't all get our hands on the very expensive original Pam Hogg. If only. Alright, back to Pam's story. By the early 90s, Pam Hogg was a certified underground star, but the fashion world around her was shifting. The 90s brought a wave of minimalism. Suddenly, loud neon and corsets were out, and simple suits were in. Rather than change her style, Pam simply changed arenas. True to her never live to regret philosophy, she pivoted to her other great love, music. In fact, music had always been an undercurrent in her life. Back in art school, she'd played in a punk band called Rubbish, opening for the Pogues, no less. And she was a familiar face at rock shows and jam sessions around London. So when her boyfriend, musician Mary Biker of the industrial band Pigface, dragged her on stage in Nashville one night in 1991 for an impromptu performance, Pam didn't freak out. She grabbed the mic and wailed. "You're part of the band now," he told her after she had libbed her way through a song she barely knew. At that moment, Pam decided to put fashion on pause and go full-time rock and roll. And boy, did she dive in. She closed her Soho boutique, much to everyone's shock, and formed a new band called Doll overnight. Within days of forming, they landed a dream gig, opening for Debbie Harry on tour. Reviews noted that Doll brought the same thrillingly chaotic energy Pam was known for in fashion. She'd stalk the stage in sequined catsuits, of course, and towering boots. In the midst of all this, she also found time to dabble in filmmaking. She wrote and directed a short fashion film called Accelerator in 1999, which starred rock royalty like Primal Scream's Bobby Gillespie and the actress model Anita Pallenberg. Because why not? Pam was basically living multiple lives at once. She never quit music entirely. In the 2000s, she recorded with another band called Hogdoll, and one of her surprisingly tender songs, Honeyland, became an underground hit. And by the mid-2000s, the style pendulum was swinging back. So in 2009, Pam returned to the catwalk with a collection aptly named Galaxy Warriors. It was as if she'd never left. The fashion world went wild for it. After 2 decades away from Fashion Week schedule, Pam instantly re-established herself as the show to watch if you craved rebellious spectacle. Her influence was everywhere. Lady Gaga became a client. Rihanna had Pam Hogg catsuits on her tour. Supermodel Kate Moss, one of the most photographed women on the planet, was such a fan that she literally ripped off a haute couture gown at her own birthday party to slip into one of Pam's one-of-a-kind catsuits. Yes, really. In 2017, Pam brought a Ziggy Stardust-inspired sequined catsuit from her archive as a gift to Kate's Bowie-themed birthday bash. Speaking of Ziggy, here's a video I just did on him. Well, the moment Kate saw that catsuit, her eyes lit up. She shimmied out of her expensive dress and into Pam's creation on the spot. That was kind of gratifying, Pam admitted wryly of seeing Kate Moss choose her outfit over the luxury labels. Pam's designs, once considered outre club wear, were now coveted statement pieces for the world's biggest stars. Kylie Minogue's team begged Pam to create costumes for her tours. Even Beyoncé has been spotted rocking Pam Hogg. not bad for a mischief maker from Glasgow. Yet, through all the acclaim, Pam never sold out or lost her punk spirit. "I'm far too independent. I follow my judgment, not orders," she said of why she never fit into the more corporate fashion system. She continued to sew every piece in her collections with her own 2 hands, often staying up through the wee hours, hunched over her sewing machine, her fingers literally bleeding from hand stitching and studding. Bella Freud, as fellow designer and now a fellow YouTuber, recalled how Pam's refined workmanship was worthy of a couture house. She could insert intricate diamond-shaped panels into latex catsuits, a notoriously difficult feat, and make the result fit like a second skin, so the wearer looked like a superstar from another planet. Despite her rock and roll image, Pam was a true craftsman. The fact that she pulled it off for decades is astonishing. Fashion is a brutal business. Still with me? Coming up, we'll break down Pam's signature beauty look, including that famous yellow hair and how you might summon a bit of her magic in your own style. And I promise a cool tidbit about how Pam's low-maintenance beauty routine might surprise you, so don't miss it. Even as we celebrate her persona, we have to acknowledge the reality. Being Pam Hogg wasn't always glamorous behind the scenes. The work ethic that fueled her and often isolated her for weeks on end to finish a collection took a personal toll. She'd miss birthdays and lose touch for long stretches. She had 13,500 unanswered emails on her phone because when she was in creation mode, the world fell away. This obsessive dedication is part of her legend too. It's the sacrifice side of such ethos. She paid her dues to stay independent. And she did it out of love. When she was at her most inspired, she felt almost like a conduit for something beyond herself. Those moments of transcendence, one imagines, made all the sacrifices worth it. Now, as promised, let's distill some practical takeaways from Pam Hogg's beauty and style blueprint. You might be thinking, Kira? I'm not about to get in a latex catsuit or dye my hair big bird yellow. Fair. Pam's personal look is not for everyone, but there are still some fabulous lessons we can learn. Pam's bright hair was arguably her trademark. She started bleaching in the late 70s and over the years sported fluorescent orange, candy floss pink, and ultimately that insanely iconic lemon yellow hue. It was unmissable. Vivienne Westwood herself once told Pam, "I love that lemon hair. I'm so glad you don't change." The takeaway? Consider a hair choice, however radical, that makes you feel uniquely you. It doesn't have to be yellow, maybe it's a cool undercut or neon streak. Something in your hair that says, I'm here and I'm not like everybody else. By the way, Manic Panic is best for neon coloring. I used it for pink once, and for bleaching my brows. If you're not ready, you could also experiment with wigs. Pam's hair also had style, not just color. She often wore it in a voluminous quiff, like a 50s rockabilly twist. To get a bit of that vibe, you can tease your roots and use a strong-hold pomade or a hairspray to sculpt the front upward. Or just do as Pam sometimes did. She'd run a wet comb through her hair to shape its natural wave into a quiff and be out the door in 20. I'd recommend you check out my Daphne Guinness video for more of this kind of hair inspiration. She famously tipped on Bumble & Bumble's Semi-Sumo High Shine pomade and its smell. Now, you might assume someone like Pam would pile on crazy club kid makeup. Interestingly, her go-to look was built on classics. A strong red lip and dramatic eyeliner wing. That contrast, timeless Hollywood glamour on her face, anarchic punk in her wardrobe and hair, made it even cooler. Nodding to Pam could be as simple as perfecting your cat eye and finding your perfect red. As for clothes, just remember Pam and silently say to yourself, fuck normality, and carry on with whatever gets you excited. Well, we better wrap this up in a minute. Pam's life was a masterclass in remaining true to one's vision, and hence evolving it, whether that meant stitching latex in solitude or dancing on a bar. She sadly passed away just very recently, at the age of 74, surrounded by friends and family. This blueprint is an invitation to create your own reality. Thanks so much for hanging out with me and exploring the punk world of Pam Hogg. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe so we don't lose each other. I'd love to hear what part of Pam's story or style inspired you most. Please tell me in the comments. I've queued up the next chapter for you here. I'll see you soon. Love, Kira. Now go create your own blueprint.
Did you have a good time?